Ariel Helwani post-fight in Orlando alongside Nick Diaz, whose brother tonight, Nathan Diaz, picked up a huge win over Michael Johnson. Nick, great to see you. What did you think of Nathan's performance?
I was good. I thought it was good. I thought it was, a few things. He's got a little different little timing than me, so I get like try to make him do what I do. But he can do what I do, but I gotta make him do it sometimes. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? He does his own thing. People are like, oh, this and that about me, and then talk about him. I'm like, I'm always stressed out because sometimes he doesn't do the things that I do, but I don't do the things that he does. Sometimes he be throwing people across, all the way up in the air. And I just don't do that. A lot of times I make like an inside, he makes an out, like a throw. So we're a lot different, but come across a lot alike. We both throw a lot of punches. But yeah, I was plenty impressed. I was always, I'm like, I don't want to get carried away or something. Like, hey, focus. But yeah, it was good.
He seemed to be in a great mood this week and in great shape, great spirits, fought great. Was there something different about him that you noticed?
No, it was, it's good. I think, you grow up a little bit, you get smart. I mean, me, like, 16 years later, 37 fights later, after a while, you realize there's more life. You sit down and you go like, okay, and you come to glimpse of what's what. I think same for him. He had a little break, and of course, he's about a year behind me, but in fight years, he's a couple years behind me. I want to say, because he got started a little bit after me, but yeah, I was really impressed with him. He his punches were coming out straight, and I was trying to work on his stance this camp. I wanted to get him his stance together, and just a really strong stance. Because I think I did a lot more martial arts maybe like earlier years. I took it a little more seriously earlier on in life, and then before he kind of started following in my footsteps, if you will. So I just wanted to whatever I'm doing that he's not doing. I want to work on like getting him to do these things and not leaving it out so I'm kicking myself later. But yeah, I mean I think he picked up a lot of that, and I didn't have very much time to spend with him. I had to be here and there, a few things while I can before before I get back to doing whatever I'm going to be doing, if I'm going to be doing it. And we'll see what happens. So I'm still in the dark with that, but yeah, I was really impressed with him. I thought we had a good night, and yeah, I'm just gonna try to keep him on the ball and keep him moving, get him out there, maybe racing and doing some more endurance workouts. He fights so much, he gets settled in, and then they have three fights a year. Sometimes for me it was, for me and him it was 3 to 5 for a long time, 3 to 5 fights a year. That's it. After a while, 37 fights later, you don't really realize that that does something to you, and there's not a lot of people in the world who ever gone through that, and people don't really realize. I'm like, no, like, oh, what about your time? I'm like, no, there is no time off, for your whole life. So you got to kind of try to paint a picture and understand that for a second before you can just criticize and you want to say like, oh, these guys do this and that. I'm like, when was your time for that? That's another thing about it. I don't like to talk bad about anybody that I'm not going to be fighting, but some of these guys are like, okay, bro. I'm like, you're from the hood or the ghetto, or you come from. I'm like, you got your whole get up. I'm like, where'd you stylistically? I'm like, come on, dude. I wasn't born yesterday. I'm like, you did not come from some kind of shit background. You came from some money. You know what I mean? You came from a background of winners, and that's great for you. But when you're coming up out of you're coming up out of nothing, there's a lot to it. And you got to make ends meet, and that's what you're seeing is somebody who's done that. I like to think like when it comes to me or it comes to my brother, and yeah, that's what when it happens, it's a show. You get the show.
So he wants the Conor fight. That's obvious.
Yeah.
How do you think that fight would go down? How would you beat Conor McGregor?
I think I think it's gonna be a tough fight for Conor. Fight that coming up. I think anybody's gonna be a hard fight at 155 for Conor. See, the trick is he's the only one that's painted a real picture, for himself, and he understands. He gets that weight to get down there, and he puts in that work, and that hard work pays off. So. But yeah, everybody, I think he'd have a hard time with anybody in the lightweight division. it wouldn't be as easy. It's like me, I should be fighting 185. I'm well over 185 right now, but it's a lot of hard work for me to get down.
Okay, last question. You've talked a lot about how you feel about seeing your brother fight. Sometimes it's mixed emotions. What's it like for you there watching him, and you're far away? I know you couldn't corner him, but he rises to the occasion. Do you take any pleasure, or is this kind of a miserable experience for you?
No, I wait for him in the locker room. That's what it was. It's rough either way. Sitting in the locker room, you can't do nothing, and it's rough being out there and either doing the right thing and the wrong thing, or saying the right thing and the wrong thing. So sometimes people are, they freeze up and don't say nothing, and then that's all you need to hear is one or two things. And after the fight, you're like, man, you told me, thank you, you told me I'd start doing it. I was like, it worked. I'm glad you were there. So so that's kind of rough, but in the future, we're all getting older, we're all getting smarter. Everybody's matured into what it is. I've had my same work in the corner, and we've all come to the same understandings and try to put together and make a good fight night.